Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Hunger Games. Book 1, The Hunger Games. Part 3, The Victor. Chapters 19, 20, and 21. In these chapters, Katniss finds Peeta, and he is in bad shape. So what do? They lure her out with the promise of saving him.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Unspoiled.
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where dead men called out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you?
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
All right. We're in the stretch where Peeta and Katniss are together, finally.
Yeah, they're back together again. The band is back together again.
Yeah.
This
what do you feel about this?
These
They're
game makers,
sadistic.
they ain't shit. These are some ain't shit motherfuckers right here.
Yeah, hard agree.
I love the moment where she finds him, and because I was thinking to myself, girl, you gotta act like you are really, really happy to see him. What are you doing? And then
and finally she kisses him after like 10 minutes of like,
Peeta,
puss, ew.
Right, he has to whisper in her ear, like, you're supposed to be really happy to see me because we're in love. And she's like, oh, right.
I do really enjoy how much they both have to, like, because it's the sort of thing that, like, look, even if I am really in love with somebody, in this situation, I don't know how much I'm looking like I'm in love with them. It's bad, you know? Like, so, yeah, even if you really are, and you're not just doing it for the camera, it's gotta be just not a natural instinct when you're emptying the pus out of somebody's open gaping wound. So I really sympathize on this. Let's
so
back up first. Let's start off at the beginning of the chapter. Because she has just yelled Peeta's name and then immediately is like, why the fuck did I draw attention to myself? Which I honestly didn't think of immediately. I felt like a bad strategic mind.
It had to have played well on TV, though.
Really had to, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure people ate that up. Yeah, this whole thing, she immediately starts thinking about how this changes everything about the game, and that also what an impression this star-crossed lovers routine it must have made to make them change the rules like this.
Yeah.
And she starts to think to herself, which she hasn't really done a lot of. Like, she's thought of Peeta, obviously, a bunch since she's been on her own. But, like, thinking about specifically what he has been doing and how he's been playing the cameras, she hasn't really thought about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so now she's thinking about everything. She's thinking about, the very moment when they show up in the arena and he tells her, like, nods his head, don't go to the cornucopia, fighting Cato. Like, the whole time everybody at home is probably watching, like, look at how hard he's working to keep her safe,
Yeah.
And I had thought a little bit earlier that I wasn't really sure what Peeta was up to, but I thought that it was a chance that he was with the careers, but he was there to kind of shield her and run interference between them and her. And I don't want to say that my guess was right, because motherfucker.
What?
GarageBand stopped recording.
We're just gonna go with it looks like Zencaster's working fine. So
Okay.
let's just do that.
All right. So, I'm not comfortable enough yet to say exactly what Peeta has been doing and what his motivations have been, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so strange to be reading a book where I don't know what the individual people's motivation is because I've been so spoiled by fucking George R. Martin's POVs.
Yes, I get that.
But
yeah, it's so funny too. Speaking of him, there's a point at which she's like, anytime there's a feast, there's always casualties. And I was like, what is this? It's like, let's fire, am I right? Sorry.
But it does appear, at least, like that's what he's been doing. That he was working with the careers, and while he may have also been trying to increase his chances, he never stopped thinking about trying to keep her as safe as he possibly could have, which is a very interesting strategy because if that was really what he was doing, and there's no way for anybody to know that the game makers were going to make this change in the rules, then he was really setting it up so that they would end up having to go head to head. And I don't know why anybody would want to set that up. So,
maybe
and
he
that's
figured that he could be the last one and then he could just kill himself. And he was like, okay with that.
Oh, I mean, that had not occurred to me. I don't know if.
I mean, I that's a very drastic plan, but we are in the Hunger Games, which are like the epitome of drastic. So maybe
that's true. That's true. Like these desperate measures and desperate times and all that jazz. But so she starts thinking about like, she actually says Peeta has never been a danger to me, which I feel like that's a little bit of a leap, but that's fine. I'll allow it for now. So now it's left. It's not a lot of them left, y'all. That shit has really narrowed down quite quickly. There is her and Peeta, Kato, and the girl.
It's Kato. You were
Kato.
right the second. Yeah.
Okay. And Kato and the girl from his district, who we find out later, her name is Clove. Thresh is out there and Foxface is out there. So it's 6 of them. That is like, those numbers decreased expeditiously.
Yes, they did. Yeah. And she notes too throughout these chapters that the temperature during the day is going way up and the temperature at night is dropping way down. So
was that just to force them to cuddle?
Extremes.
Right. I feel like that's forcing them just to cuddle, right? They wanted to see them in that sleeping bag together. That's all that was.
I love that idea. That didn't occur to me. But what about the heat during the day then? You would think that you would want to keep them cuddled. So just make it cold all the time. I don't know, though. Maybe that was just too much to, when they weren't, nobody's clothed for that, and they had all of those people die of hypothermia in those one games, and they were like, we don't need to do that again.
But yeah, no, I'm glad you bring up the temperature change because, as the games go on, they make it harder and harder in all of these different ways, and this unbearable heat during the day is going to tire people out. It's going to make them sluggish, make them easier to kill, more vulnerable. And it's just incredibly fascinating to me to anytime we see the game makers, playing around with it. And I because of where I am in my life in general and where I am in my ideology in general and just the nature of the way the world is, I cannot stop thinking about the way this game is set up. Like when she gets, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but when she gets the care package that turns out to just be broth and not medicine. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. No, she gets a care package that's medicine, but it's like the sleepy. Nope, I'm confused again. Does she get broth?
There's 2 different packages. There's one that's broth, and it's just she is hoping for something more.
Right, and then she gets the sleep syrup later.
Gets really, really bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first thing she gets is broth, and the idea of something so simple and so basic, and it being literally airdropped from some nameless, faceless benefactors on high
Mm-hmm.
into her life, right? And I just was like, Jesus fucking Christ, that's what we're all like just scrambling around from place to place, desperately hoping something gets parachuted into our lives to help us.
Yep.
And
Every
I
time
can't,
we have a GoFundMe,
my
it's just
God,
us going, "Hey, sponsors, anybody? Can
it
y'all?"
really,
Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
and it's like, it just fucking really hit me. It really, really hit me. They are in this position where they're performing, and their performance really determines how much fucking necessary help that they're going to actually be lucky enough to receive.
Yep.
And I got so angry.
Yep. Yep. And there's also the aspect for me of the fact that like Haymitch himself has been put through this, and now he has to be strategic with them about it. So like
Hmm.
he doesn't get away from this even when he
Mm.
wins.
When you win, you become even more complicit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
part of you enjoying the benefits of your victory is agreeing to play this game for, I don't know how long you have to be a mentor. Like, I probably should have paid closer attention, but Haymitch is the mentor for everybody from District 12 until, I guess, they get another winner,
I think so. I think that's how it works.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what districts do who've never had a winner. I don't know, and I don't even know if the book is explicit in teaching us or telling us how that works out. But
I don't remember. That's a good question.
so this is just Haymitch's deal now, right?
Mm-hmm.
This horrific thing that he had to go through. Now he gets to just relive it over and over and over again. It's just
Yep.
like, what? How is this? How is this a prize? But I guess the prize is you never have to worry about being in that situation again. That's the big fucking prize,
Yeah.
is that you'll never get called again.
Once your name is called, there's no going back in, at least.
Like, ugh, this is so obscene. The whole thing is so obscene.
And like
But
eventually when she does kiss him, that's immediately when they get the broth. And she can tell that the message is basically like,
mm-hmm,
wow, a kiss. Here's some
mm-hmm,
fucking soup. That's what you
mm-hmm,
get. There's not
mm-hmm.
even anything in it. It's just broth. Like,
Yep, yep,
and, tap dance for me. Do you
yeah,
deserve medicine? It's just so,
yep.
ooh.
And I
Yeah.
wish that I had, like, if we were talking about POVs, I would love to know what because I understand that Haymitch is not actually having access to resources himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that, because those come from the sponsors. But I'm assuming, well, I don't want to assume because I don't know. Sponsors can pool their money to purchase things that the combatant might actually need, right? Like the medicine,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming, but like the burn medicine that she got. But what Haymitch does exactly, I'm not sure about. Like, I don't know if he has to try to like schmooze the sponsors on Katniss and Peeta's behalf,
I
or
think
does
that's
he?
it. Like
Is
he
that
has
what
to
that is?
be their face on the ground and convincing people to invest in them.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then once he convinces them to invest, does Haymitch turn around and decide what's going to go to Katniss? Like, people, I'm assuming that I'm imagining there's like a bank account, right? And people are like, how when you can like give stars or
Hmm.
something on a post, like it's something like that, right? So
Yes.
you're getting people to
That's some
donate,
Facebook
donate,
shit.
donate.
That's new, by the way,
Mhm.
guys. Those of you who aren't on Facebook and you're like, what? Yeah, that's a whole new thing.
Oh yeah, and then they have it like, on TikTok and stuff. That's a whole thing that you can do where you can send people like roses and gifts and shit. Like those
Hmm.
people that do NPCs. which is a whole weird thing.
Oh
But so does
my God,
Haymitch then? Does
I'm
Haymitch?
sorry. I'm just like hearing that there's like new add-ons to social media that function more like the Hunger Games. That's not what I want to hear in my life.
Have you seen any of those people, those NPCs?
I
Like that
don't
one
know what
girl.
you're talking about.
Oh, there's a whole subcategory on social media. I think it's like a big on Twitch, which I don't Twitch, but the only reason I know about it is because a black woman who calls herself Pinky Doll went viral because she got accused of light fishing. But what they do is they stay in the character of an NPC from video games. They pick a video game or whatever, and they just like they behave and speak and say like these little catchphrases over and over and over again, and people watch their lives and click whatever button it is to send them like gifts, and that's how they make money. So there's a whole
What?
sub sort of yeah. Check it out when you get want to go down rabbit hole. So then there's a
No,
sub genre
I'm
of this,
not.
and the reason I know about it because Pinky Dow, but other people will like they'll have black people say very specific things like fried chicken, watermelon, fried chicken, watermelon.
Cool. Cool.
and people
Cool.
and people watch, and it goes on for hours and hours and hours. And the chick that I know about, like I said, she went viral because there was some kind of award show, some kind of, I think it's literally called the Streamies, right? And she was there live. I don't know if she was presenting or getting an award, but she was there. And it turned out to be that she's much darker in complexion than she appears on screen. And so
Mm.
she went viral for that because that's all it takes anymore in this world. And people accuse her of using lighting in the videos and filters to make herself seem like she's much, much more light skinned than she actually is. And
And
so
why
that's how
would you not do that? Because you
because the
can,
whole,
and you guys are racist, so sure.
right?
Literally
That's,
fault anybody for that shit. Get out of here with that. I'm sorry, but oh,
but,
I'm sorry that I used your own biases against you for my own gain. It's only supposed to be for yours. My bad. I know I
right?
violated our implicit contract.
Like, I was looking at this whole story and I'm like, who exactly is offended here? Because why y'all mad?
Hmm. And
But so
setting
that's the only,
aside how much of a difference lighting can make unintentionally, you use some lighting to just make your like skin appear more poreless and flawless. You have to use brighter lighting, and that can result in a dramatic change in skin tone.
mm-hmm.
So,
Like now, today, all the kids are talking about this picture of Beyonce that came out fairly recently, and she looks very, very fair in that. But it's like a black and white photo, and the lighting is so intense. And she's in this silver
mhm.
dress, and she's got like platinum blonde hair in it. So I think people were accusing her of like bleaching her skin, and like, come on, y'all, it's lighting. Are we doing
Of
this again?
course,
We just did this. Why are we doing this all the time? It's just the lighting of this particular photo shoot. Calm down. But people gonna do what they do, as is their way, as is their
indeed.
want. But so circling back to Haymitch, is he deciding I'm only sending Katniss soup? I got a bunch of money in the account for her right now, but I'm sending her soup to send her a very specific message. Or did someone gift Katniss soup? Those are the little logistical things that I'm not 100% clear on.
That's a good question. She's taking it very much as like a direct message to her, and
Yes,
it is
yes.
completely in her head. Like we have no idea if there's any truth to this or not.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things, and I don't know. We're in the last third of the book, a little less than a third of probably like the last third. I'm assuming she has these in 3 parts, so we'll
Hmm.
say the last third. And I don't know if we, at the end of this book, depending on how things actually shake out, and there's an actual winner of the games, and say it's Katniss and Peeta, do we meet Haymitch again? And do I ever get to find out what the fuck he was doing? I don't know if that's a thing that I'll ever get.
Well, well,
Or if
well.
these are just, questions that won't ever really be answered for me. But but so but before that, she actually has to find Peeta, which it takes her a long time to do. And then when
Mm-hmm.
she does find him, she doesn't even realize she's found him because this motherfucker is camouflaged.
Yes.
This
I love
is
this.
this is really next level. Like she's practically standing on top of him.
I mean, she is. Yeah, he's like by her feet. And, this is the one thing that has kept him alive because he is really, really badly injured, but he has
He's
managed to
bad.
stay under there and out of sight while his wound just festers in the
Yeah.
mud. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
mm.
And considering how hot it's been, it's actually probably really good that he found himself to keep himself a little bit cooler because he probably would have just expired by now.
Although overnight
I'm
it was
curious.
so cold, like
That's
how
a really good point. And also, I'm
maybe
really
he's just so
curious about that.
feverish.
When remind me of the timing of everything. The big fire is way before the jacker attack. That is hard to say.
Tracker Jacker.
But then
Tracker.
throw attack on the end of that.
But you don't need
I don't have to say
attack.
attack.
It's
I guess I
just
don't.
Tracker Jacker. Think of like Yellow Jacket.
All right. So after the jackers, right? The fire was
I'm sorry,
before
you
that.
almost didn't get it that time either. It was a real close one.
Listen, learn to let some things slide.
I just enjoy it. It's fun. But especially as
um,
somebody who's been getting my shit wrong a lot lately, I've got to make myself feel better by pointing it out. Forgive
I'm
me.
I will not. I will not forgive you.
All right, that's fair. Don't forgive me then. I'm
But
still going to do it.
the fire was before that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Yep. It
So
was, she was burned when she climbed the tree to get away from them
right, that's
and
right, because
wound
she had
up
to
in
do
the
all the
track.
sawing, and her hands were all fucked up. Okay. So he's been under this mud for a little over a day, maybe at this point, maybe two
Girl, don't
days.
ask me to try and time this out. I am
Okay. All
always
right.
bad at this.
T-
I can't
but
manage my time in life. I don't know what fucking day it is half the time. Don't try and get me to figure it out in fiction. It's not happening.
well,
You know what I'm talking about? Like
I do
today, it
actually.
feels for all the world like a Friday because you and I normally record this Friday. So I have been going around thinking it's tomorrow we wake up and record Song of Ice and Fire for several hours. Nope.
I thought it was Sunday
Monday.
most of the day, even though I actually worked. There was a point today on my lunch break where I was looking at like fake ass Cyber Monday deals,
Mm-hmm.
and it kept saying I only had 5 hours left. And I was like, but it's Sunday. Why do I only have 5 hours left to order this? What are you talking about? And I got so mad, I closed the app because I thought they were trying to bully me. And then realized, no, it's Monday.
You're creating false urgency, you sons of bitches.
I got so mad about it. But I was mistaken. But so either way, a day or two, he has been barely not dying. That's as good as I'm going to call this whole situation Peeta's got going on. And he has just barely managed not to die yet when
Yeah,
she finds
that's
him.
right.
And he is a mess because not only does he have this gnarly fucking knife wound that is like to the bone, we find out, but he also got stung to holy hell.
Mm-hmm.
And he still has the stingers in him. So her whole like getting him cleaned up is a real endeavor. And she's able to treat like some of his more minor wounds, and like she knows the trick now to treat the stings, and she's able to get the little stingers out, and she cleans them up, and then she gets to the point where she's done everything but look at his leg, which I feel like low key she was putting that off to last anyway, because we know how she feels about this
100%.
shit, right? But eventually there's nothing else to do but see what the fuck's going on with this leg. And she gets his pants off. Oh my gosh, she just like does not want to see him naked. And I'm like, you know what? You seem bashful about it. You don't owe nobody no explanation. You don't want to see his junk. You don't want to see his junk. It's fine.
Right, exactly.
But she
Yeah,
gets
she
really
keeps on
like,
just being like, "Oh, come on, I need to get over this. Why? For what
mm,
reason? No, you don't. Go ahead."
you know, and then she's like thinking about her mom and Prim and how they are like not bothered by this at all in their like when they work as healers, like they don't get like shy about this sort of thing.
Hmm.
But we know that this is not, because really it's the intimacy of
Literally
treating
took
some,
the words out of my mouth. Yes.
right, that's what she is uncomfortable with. And so it's the not wanting to have his pants off, not wanting. She even says at one point when she's talking about how sort of squeamish she is when her mom and Prim are not. She says something like, "If I want to be honest, I don't even want to be around when somebody's coughing too bad. Like I just
Hmm.
don't want any. I don't want to be anywhere near that, any of that." And I get it. I get it. But she has to fucking get these pants off, and his leg, y'all, it's a mess. It's real bad.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
real bad. Again, cut to the bone. It is swollen. It is bleeding. There is pus everywhere. And then there's the smell of like rotting, decaying, or festering, as she says, flesh.
Hmm.
And it says that she wants to run away, disappear into the woods like I did when they brought the burn victim to our house. And Peeta is watching her face, and Katniss is trying to mimic what she thinks of as the calm demeanor her mother has. And I'm going to assume she does not do a great job of this because
Yeah,
Peeta looks at her and he's
weird.
like, "Yeah, it's pretty bad,
Being
isn't
like,
it?"
mm, "Don't go playing poker or anything, girl. You're not gonna. It's not gonna go well for you." But yeah, and
So
it's
yeah.
it's interesting because you pointed this out here, and then later when she's like, "How do you act like you're in love?" She also imitates her mom,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of it's I don't know. There's something funny about just having to be like, "Ugh, mom," and then like, well, I guess I have to pretend to feel the way that she does.
Yeah. And
That's,
if you've never been in love yet and you haven't, because even when you are young, right, and you first are smitten with whoever it is that you fall for at whatever age the first time it happens to you, you don't, in my opinion, know how to express these sort of emotions. So when you're
mm-hmm.
young, I think a lot of us are actually just doing pantomime. We're doing what we see in the movies.
Yeah, yeah.
We're performing what we think it looks like to be in love with somebody. And then as you get older and the relationship deepens or whatever, then things start to be like more natural, more organic. But at the beginning, we're all just kind of play acting, you know. Um, but she doesn't even have the feelings, at least not in a conscious way, right? Whether she has smoldering feelings that she's unaware of, I'm not ready to get into all that just yet. But yeah, she's really awkward and uncomfortable and like doesn't know, like, whereas she keeps thinking to herself, Peeta is much more natural about it, like the way he strokes her face and holds, her
Mm-hmm.
chin and brushes the hair out of her eyes and shit like that. It seems like it comes so much more natural to him. And I guess as a reader, I could start being like, well, maybe it comes natural to him because he really feels that way. But,
Mm-hmm.
but, we have talked before, and I think it's a really important point. Peeta knows how to perform to people who have expectations of him,
Yes.
because of his home life. He knows how to be what people need him to be. So he just has a leg up on her when it comes to this sort of stuff, I think. What?
You said a
Oh,
leg up, and
no.
he's got his leg injury. That's funny.
No. No.
But
No,
no,
you take it back.
not to overshadow your very excellent point, and I think you're right about that. And I just keep thinking about how like when I didn't know how to express love, and even now as a 39-year-old woman who's been married twice, sometimes I still don't, and I just bite, and that's how I express it. anyway. And he starts to try and be like, well, if I can't make it back, and she's just like, don't talk about that. And he says, but no, if I can't. And this is when she kisses him to shut him up. And she gets the broth and gets the message, so she thinks, and goes back in and gets him to drink it all. It's really hard because he has been nauseous. He doesn't want to eat anything, which she recognizes as a particularly bad sign.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you know what else we find out? We find out that Haymitch hasn't sent Peeta anything.
yeah,
What the fuck is that about?
that's a good question. What do you think it's about?
I am so confused because if Katniss is correct and Peeta has really been playing up the star-crossed lovers angle, why isn't he being rewarded for that? I don't get it. Like, isn't that's what Haymitch wants them to be doing? So I don't know if Peeta is he not
Maybe
telling the
he doesn't
truth?
think he's doing a particularly good idea or doing a good job, like, I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know, but it makes me wonder. It makes me circle back to what exactly has Peeta been doing during this time. I don't know. I don't know. It's but I and they don't talk about it a lot. She asked him, you know, what have you said? He says nothing, and then he says, "Why did you get something?" And she admits that she got burn medicine and that she got bread. And he just is like, I always knew you were his favorite. And then he actually goes off onto a whole other thing where he ends up saying that her and Haymitch are just alike, which she is insulted by, but knows better to like say anything about how insulted she is. But yeah, that I got stuck on that. Because I guess, I mean, I want to say, well, maybe Peeta didn't need anything, but this motherfucker was just buried in mud, dying of a leg wound, so he was most definitely in need of some shit. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know, guys. I don't know, but I thought about it. I just don't have an answer. But I'm really curious, and I guess, like I said, Peeta could be lying, but I don't know why he would lie in this moment, unless the thing he got is somehow something that would really piss Katniss off, or I don't know, or he
So
would
you
have
mean
gotten it.
like, I thought when you said he could be lying, you meant he wasn't trying to help her, and that's why Haymitch hasn't sent anything.
Well, that's
But you
possible,
mean
but
he's
also
lying that he got anything.
he could also be lying about whether or not he actually got anything.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
but I don't know, like, what his motivation would be for lying about whether or not he received any gifts yet, unless it's something that he got that, like I said, would really piss her off. But then the next question becomes, well, what could that have been? And I have no idea. I have no idea. But so since I don't have any idea, I don't want us to get too hung up on that. But
Sure.
I did want to just make sure we mentioned that before we got a little bit too far up in like the rest of the story.
So she is, like you say, sleeping in the sleeping bag with him, and it's very cold at night, but he's so feverish that it's like too hot almost in there. And she manages to sleep so long that, like, by the time she wakes, he's been awake longer. And she's like, "You were supposed to get me up," and he's like, "Why? Nothing's happening." And I like watching you sleep. You don't scowl. Improves your looks a lot. This, of course, brings on a scowl that makes him grin. That's when I notice how dry his lips are. I test his cheek, hot as a coal stove. He claims he's been drinking, but the container still feels full to me. And as somebody who has trouble hydrating in the best of times, if you have like cracked lips and a sore throat and stuff, it can make it, even though you know in the end this will make you feel better, it can be so hard to make yourself hydrate, man. Especially then you have to pee, so you have to like make yourself intake things that you know are going to force you to get up and walk and move when you have an injured
Mhm.
leg. Like, it's just, no. And this is when she sees that the wound is worse. Tries to be like, well, the pus is gone, but
Yeah.
he knows what blood poisoning looks like. So he's just
Yeah.
like, all right, stop with this.
um, and then I love this part too. Uh, he's she after the blood poisoning thing. She's her like chipper responses. Well, you're just gonna have to live long enough. That's all. You don't have to recover, but you just gotta not die, and we'll get you fixed up after we win the game.
I mean, that's as valid a tactic as any, I suppose. Why not?
He just goes, "Yeah, that's a good plan."
So he asks her to tell him a story to pass the time. And she tells him the story of how she got Prim's goat. It's heavily edited.
Heavily
Because,
edited.
yeah, the circumstances surrounding this are highly illegal. And she can't share all of that. But she tells him the second part, mostly true. The first part is about how her and Gail managed to nab a buck who was like 150 pounds and was so like, when they got him in, the doe was the first one that they had ever brought in, and people like went nuts trying
Yeah,
to hack
they
pieces
just
off.
fucking bring it into town or whatever the fuck, and like into a district of starving, hungry people, and they just are like gonna stroll into town with this fucking deer and think that no one is gonna like be interested.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, doesn't go super well.
Yeah. So they have learned their lesson, and this time they bring this buck that they find after dark, and they just slide right on up to the butcher on the low, which is a much smarter plan.
Definitely.
And they sell it for a really good price. Plus, they get like some meat to take home, and they end up going past this guy they call the Goat Man, and he's got this injured goat that they want to buy. And I love that the butcher lady comes over and she ends up playing it up that it's like in such bad shape only an idiot would buy it. So that Katniss is able to get it at like a much better price. I love that sort of solidarity because I got
I
nervous
love
when
too that
the
he
butcher
knows what the fuck is going on. He's like, God damn it, you ruined my shit. Like, well, they still buy it from you though,
right? I got worried when the butcher lady showed up. I was like, oh man, what's gonna happen? And then it's like, oh, they're playing. I see what they're doing here.
So yeah, she manages to get this goat who's been really badly injured and is likely to die, and takes it home to Prim, who is like overjoyed. And Prim and Katniss's mom, who, by the way, it has been brought to my attention in the Discord, does not have a name.
Doesn't have a
It's
name.
simply Mrs. Everdeen. They nurse it back to health with such fierceness that Katniss is later like, it couldn't have died if it tried.
Peeta's
and
like,
that
don't
reminds
worry,
me
I'm
that
not
there's
trying.
because then she's like, oh god, I said that right in front of Peeta, and he's like, I'm not trying, chill, it's fine, I get it. We were talking about their ship name, and some folks wanted me to let you know that a preferred Peeta and Katniss shipping name is Everlark, because she's Everdeen
because people
and
don't
he's
like
Malark.
people don't like cat peen. Y'all telling me y'all don't like that? Huh? Is that what you're telling me?
That's so aggressive. Oh my god, it's like you heard somebody using a slur in the line at the grocery store. Oh, you don't like that? Oh my god. But yes, no they don't.
They don't? I'm calling me shocked. I can't believe that there's an alternative shipping name than to cat peen, because I was certain that everybody was in agreement and that y'all hadn't tried to come up with anything else.
Anyway.
But thank you for that information.
And as she's finishing up the story and she says something about how the goat loved Prim immediately and licked her cheek, he says, was it still wearing the pink ribbon? I think so, I say. Why? I'm just trying to get a picture, he says thoughtfully. I can see why that day made you happy. Well, I knew that goat would be a little gold mine, I say. Yes, of course I was referring to that, not the lasting joy you gave the sister you loved so much you took her place in the reaping, says Peeta dryly. The goat has paid for itself several times over, I say in a superior tone. Well, it wouldn't dare do anything else after you saved its life, says Peeta, and I intend to do the same thing. Really? What did you cost me again? A lot of trouble. Don't worry, you'll get it all back, he says. And she says he's not making sense, and I'm like, I don't know, I feel like that's making sense. I feel like that makes perfect sense, Katniss. He's just being a little clever with it, but I don't know. And this is when the announcement comes.
Yeah, this moment though, because she can't have a moment with him that is like vulnerable and sincere, and just, like, she just can't, like, she can't have it.
Yep.
So he's just trying to sort of like be like, oh, I get why that's like your happiest memory. That's a lovely story. And now I'm seeing it and I'm kind of sharing it with you. Thank you for sharing it with me. And she's just like, no, it was all business.
She's prickly.
But ma'am, he asked you to share a happy story, and this is the one you told. Why are you trying to take it back now? She's prickly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. This is when the announcement comes, and she has to rush out so she can hear the whole thing. And we find out that there's going to be a feast, and immediately she is just like, nah. Yeah. And as if they could hear her say nah, which I'm pretty sure they could. Mm-hmm. So he is immediately like, wait. Anybody who's, trying to poo-poo this, hold your horses. Calm down. Because each one of you needs something desperately. And that each of you will find something in a backpack that's marked with your district number at the cornucopia at dawn. And if you don't show up, this is going to be your last chance to get that thing you really need. I am desperate to know what was in those other backpacks.
I know, right?
Desperate.
I know, same.
But so she realizes immediately, and so does Peeta. Peeta is like, no, before she could even say anything. Peeta's like, absolutely not. You're not fucking going and putting your life on the line for me. Which is a wild thing for him to say, considering that he's, I guess, kind of did that for her. But now he's the boss of everybody, telling other people what they can and cannot do. But, it's fine. And puts up a real fight. So much so that another little parachute shows up.
Yeah, this is a really mean-spirited parachute, because she gets her hopes up so high, thinking immediately they've solved the problem and sent me medicine so I don't have to go to the feast. But no. It turns out it's just something to knock him out. Yeah,
it's a little morphine, basically. I love how all these stories that we have all have different, like, in-universe substitutes for morphine.
Yeah, basically. I mean, and this is supposed to be our universe, just in the future.
Yeah, so, true. I keep forgetting that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, they have this thing called, sleep syrup.
Yes. I think it's that's it. I'm going to find the spot.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, there
in
it
Song of
is.
Ice and Fire, we just encountered Sweet Sleep not too many
Mm-hmm.
chapters ago.
And
So
then, of
yeah.
course, the ever popular Milk of the Poppy,
Hmm.
which is just like dead on, telling us straight up, yeah, this is opium. Don't bother trying to come up with a fake name for it. This is just what it is. But and she doesn't know what it is exactly. And she takes a smell, and then she's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what this is, and this is not going to heal him. And she's so salty about it, she's about to throw it away because she's so
I
disgusted it's not the
know.
medicine they need. And then she makes the connection that no, it won't cure him, but what it will do is knock him the fuck out for a whole ass day, which will give her a chance to run and do this, go to the cornucopia, try to get the backpack, and then get back. So then she doses Peeta, just
Yep.
roofies him.
Basically, yeah. She tricks
The
him by mixing it with berries and telling him, "Oh, that sweetness is from the fruit."
mm-hmm.
And it's not
Sugar
until the third
berries.
mouthful that he starts to put it together. Something's up.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, this is so sweet. It's very sweet. What is this? And she's like, berries. And then he has some more. It's so sweet. Sugar berries, huh? Interesting. And then he's like, oh, it's as sweet as syrup. Syrup. And reminded it's too late.
Oops.
Yeah, so he's
So,
out.
yeah, I love this. A stray berry stains his chin, and I wipe it away. Who can't lie, Peeta? I say, even though he can't hear me, because he was just like, "Never, you can't lie, you can't pull it off." But she does it enough to pull this off, sir.
Yeah. And then I
So,
love this too when she says who can't lie. She's like, I know he can't hear me, but the rest of Penham can. So yeah, letting them know. She's letting them folks know. So then she sneaks out and gets to her hiding spot that Rue had shown her actually before. And this is where she camps out and she gets herself, a safe place to sleep, gets all her shit together. Is trying to figure out like what's this whole thing going to look like at the cornucopia in the morning, trying to figure out what everybody else is going to do. And she's figuring that Kato, Clove, and Thresh are going to be there when the feast starts, but she doesn't know what to make of Foxface because this is not a girl who's about that face-to-face life. This is a smash and grab kind of girl, and she's just like, I don't wonder what she's going to do. And she had thought of her too when she's looking for Peeta because she's like trying to be careful and she doesn't want to get found out. But she's like, I don't really have to worry about Foxface because she's not going to like come at me, right?
yeah.
So I love this. The morning of the cornucopia, the morning of the feast. This bitch is hiding in the cornucopia, y'all.
Yeah.
This is so fucking smart. This is
So
so
smart.
fucking smart.
I love this so much. It's genius. Katniss is like,
I
I should have done that.
Right? Like, this is so good. Am I rooting for Foxface? When did that happen?
Yeah, and that's basically Katniss is like, I've been worried about all these other guys, but shit, it might be Foxface I gotta be worrying about. I haven't even been really like looking for her at all, but yeah.
Yep. Like I have may have been underestimating this chick. I'm gonna need to keep my eye on her. And this she got away too, you guys. I cannot tell you how like happy I was for her that this fucking audacious plan worked, and that she got away. I don't know. I was here for it.
Yeah. There's something about any time that somebody manages to be ballsy like this, but in an incredibly so ballsy that nobody would have thought of it kind of way. Man, I can't help but admire that, especially as somebody with such crippling anxiety that half the time I can't make a move either way anyway. But yeah,
I want to know what's in those backpacks. Yep, but yeah, so she's in it. She snags her backpack and just fucking is gone into the woods, and that just leaves the rest of them standing around looking kind of silly, if you ask me. Just a second, they're all looking very silly. She's got to be a favorite, right? Foxface. You think she's a fan favorite of the people who are watching? Like
I
people
wonder,
had to
because
go.
she does so much sneaking by herself. I feel like that could be kind of boring to watch,
Yeah, I don't know.
but I
I feel like
don't
the crowd had to go wild when she fucking popped out of there like that. Like
know.
everybody must have like, like everybody throws their hands up in the air. They're just like, "Ah,
Like they
come
just didn't
on."
care. Yeah.
Ma'am, I
Huh?
implore you.
I'm not sure why.
But also all the backpacks are all like different shapes and sizes. So District 2 and District 11 have these big large ones, and then 5, who I guess was Foxface, is like a little medium sized one, and then of course Katniss is so tiny it's like a little hand, like a wrist wallet, you know.
Yeah.
um I bet the 2 big black ones are probably maybe food, since all the food and supplies got blown up, and
Mm,
maybe
that
that's
would
what
make sense.
Kato and Clove are desperate for, because Katniss even wonders in the earlier of these 3 chapters, like, I wonder how they're doing with all their food and supplies and shit gone. Like, I wonder how they're making out.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so Foxface is gone, and this takes time because like everybody is literally standing around low-key dumbfounded, so that costs them time. And Katniss is like, oh
Hmm.
shit, I should have already been gone by now. So she just makes a fucking beeline for the table, which I did not think that was what she was going to do. I thought she was going to hang back and see if anybody else went and try to get him maybe with an arrow, but
Oh, okay.
that's not what she does. She just goes and runs right for the table, grabs her little wallet, and somebody whips a knife at her, and she's able to deflect it and also get off an arrow back. And she hits Clove, but it's just like a arm hit.
Yeah.
And it's not even
It's
the good arm.
yeah,
Like
I'm
it's
thinking about, because like what you say about how you hadn't expected her to just run in. I when I stop and consider, I actually think I was expecting a similar thing. And maybe it's just that Katniss knows that she's like a fast sprinter. Like, she's
mm,
beaten people in her class her whole life. So she's sort of relying on that in a way that we don't keep at the forefront, because it doesn't come in useful that often. And it didn't
mm.
even come up when she was like, training with Haymitch or anything.
Yeah. And when because she has like, because she gets to the cornucopia and it's overnight. So she has like time to think about what her strategy would be, but
Hmm.
it, it never really says it. She's thinking about, again, like how are the other kids doing with their fucking, shit being missing, talks about how cold it is, talks about, um, wondering about where the other tributes are, because she's looking for like who else is here, and she doesn't really see anybody else, but it
Right.
doesn't really go into what her plan is. So I just kind of assume, because there's not a moment of her telling us what her strategy is going to be, that made me doubly lean into, oh well, she's just going to pick them off with arrows, and that's why there's no conversation about it, because it's
Mm.
like, it's a given. And then that's not what happens. Um, so yeah, Clove ends up getting her right in the fucking forehead with a knife,
Yeah.
and just opens up just a giant wound on her forehead. So she's pouring blood, and then she's caught. And I was like, oh, fuck. How are we getting out of this? And the other thing she had thought about was, she wonders if the rest of the tributes will assume that Peeta is with her and is covering her back. So she tries to play that when Clove first tackles her. She tries to like call for Peeta,
Hmm.
and
It's for like a
Clove
second or two, but
for like a second, and then she fucking just cracks her in her windpipe, and that shuts that shit right down.
yeah.
And then when no Peeta shows up, she's like, you're full of shit. That dude's dead. It's just us. And she starts playing with her a little bit, and these Kato and Clove, these both of them are on this. I promised Kato if he let me have you, I'd give the audience a good show. Like, both of these motherfuckers are on that shit.
Yeah, they're not fully hinged.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, whatever they're breeding to be tributes, they need to fucking get some new stock or something. That shit's degraded. Because now these kids are coming up and they're just fucking monsters.
Right? Yeah,
So,
I can't help but wonder if it's like, is this just because of training them to kill in the first place? Like, does this just fuck you up?
yeah,
You
I
know,
would say so.
the nature of it, I guess.
From the cradle too, like these are not even like we tend to think in a modern sense, in our real world sense, trained killers, and then we think of people who start their training as adults. You join, maybe not that the military is just training killers, but y'all understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But these are people who are raised from the cradle to do just this thing here that they're doing right now. I don't know how, like, when these District 1 and 2s win, like, I was talking earlier about how Haymitch is sort of trapped in this hellish reality of having to relive this whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
But for District 1s and 2s, I don't think they're fit to do anything else but this. So I'm glad they're not getting reintegrated into society.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, but I see what you mean. Yeah. So,
Like,
well, that's
maybe that's the thing
that's
about
really
Haymitch
grim.
too. Because anyone who survives this, how do you just go back to having a regular life? You have killed people. You just go home and get married and raise a family? I guess
Yeah.
maybe. I guess.
Or, I mean, like, do you raise a family if you know they can get got like this too? Like,
I mean, I wouldn't, but that's why I don't. So it's not really
mhm.
that much of a stretch for me.
Amen. Ugh,
But yeah, so
God.
they've got her tackled on the ground, and it is looking real bad for our girl, like real bad. And it's really dragging out too. There's a whole thing about like, we'll just kill you and let Peeta just die. We'll let nature take its take care of lover boy, she says. And then she's gonna I'll start with your mouth, she says to Katniss with her knife. She's like tracing around her fucking face with it. It's a lot.
She's such a creep. Ugh.
It's a lot, right? And she's playing this up for the camera as well.
Oh,
Because
definitely.
I imagine if you are playing the camera for everybody, but also wanting to like your district to be into it, and they know the type of people that they raise and send out to these games, they're probably eating this shit up too. So,
Yeah, the
and
more you play it up too, and fierce and crazy you seem, the more likely you may win. So the more likely sponsors are to give you even more shit.
Yep. And then more people are betting on you to win, and yeah. So and this is going on and on and on. And Katniss is lying there. She's just like, you know what? Oh, because Clove says this thing. This is where she fucks up. She says to Katniss, we're going to kill you just like we did your pathetic little ally. What was her name? The one who hopped around in the trees? Rue? Well, yeah, first Rue and then you, and then we'll let nature take its course for Loverboy. This is where she fucked up.
She sure did.
She didn't have to do this. She didn't have to say any of this. She could have just killed Katniss, or she could have just kept her mouth shut and did whatever she was going to do. But she is playing both with Katniss, to the camera, to the crowds, and so she has this little monologue like the evil villains always do. And she lets this shit slip about Rue. And someone who is nearby is not with the shits. Or is with the shits, depending on how you use that particular piece of slang. Because Katniss is lying there, and all of a sudden, somehow, Clove is just
She
floating above
levitates.
her, and she's screaming. And Katniss is like, did a hovercraft show up? What the fuck is happening? It is Thresh, y'all. And he has Clove gripped up like a fucking rag doll. And Katniss is like, I remember that dude was big, but goddamn.
She's like, has he gained weight in the arena? How does that even happen? Yeah, I really.
Yeah. And
very
he's
curious what's in
pissed.
his pack.
Yeah, right. I want to know where he's, because Katniss just keeps saying he disappears into the land I do not know. I want to know what the fuck's over there. But
Right?
I don't.
Same.
But he is pissed. What did you do to that little girl? Did you kill her? You killed her? And Clove is trying to like undo everything she fucking just did. She's like, no,
No,
it
I'm
wasn't
not. Just
me.
kidding.
Bitch, I just heard you say it was you. You said her name. I heard you. You killed her. And you cut her up like you're going to cut up this girl here. And Clove is still trying, no, wasn't me, not me. She's screaming for Cato. Cato answers, but he's too far away. And Peeta's like, what is he doing? He's so far away. Is he trying to get the fox face or Peeta? Or had he just been lying in wait and just really badly misjudged his location? I don't know why that really made me laugh. Just really badly misjudged his location.
I wonder about that too. Like, what do you think he was doing?
Well, I guess my main guess is that because Clove comes right out at Katniss as she's making a beeline to the cornucopia. So maybe Clove was also making a beeline for the cornucopia, and Cato is just covering her. But he seems to be far away, and why he would be that far away when his weapon of choice is that spear. Not that he can't use other things to cover distance, because he can throw the spear as well. He doesn't have to like use it in his hand. As a matter of fact, Katniss explicitly says that he can throw a spear about as far as she can shoot an arrow. So maybe he was doing the thing that I thought Katniss would do, which is get like sort of higher ground and then just pick people off. And maybe Clove was to draw people out. And they didn't
I'm thinking about it. I feel like there isn't higher ground. I feel like the cornucopia is on a hill. And
yeah,
it is the higher ground.
I don't remember exactly. But if they weren't expecting Katniss to make a break for it, then Clove could have been like the decoy, I guess. If they were thinking like, oh, Clove will go in for the bag and then I'll just cover her. And if anybody comes out after her, not a decoy, but she goes and gets the bag, I'll cover her. Anybody that goes after her, I'll just shoot him from a distance with the spear.
Right.
But but he seems so far away now. I don't know what they could have been planning. Maybe Clove fucked up and saw Katniss and just darted out after her and wasn't supposed to do that at all. Maybe they had some other plan, and she just couldn't resist it once she saw Katniss out there like that, all vulnerable. But either way, whatever they had planned is not going to plan because they underestimated, I guess, that anybody would give a fuck about Rue, right? That anybody would care enough about her to then put themselves out in the open. But that's exactly what he did. And he takes a rock up to this girl's head. It's not bleeding, but you can see the dent in her skull. And I know that she's a goner. And
there's something about the fact that it doesn't bleed. That it's so much like the kind of strength you have to crush a person's skull without breaking the skin. Like that doesn't happen first. I can't even. Yeah.
And then he turns around on Katniss with the rock still in his hand. And she's just like, well, my bow is empty. I can't just run. Right? But luckily for her, he has a presence of mind to be like, I heard everything she said. What does she mean about calling you an ally? And that gives Katniss a chance to explain herself. And just tell him. yeah, this is what happened. We blew up the supplies. I tried to save her, but he got there first, the kid from District 1. And Thresh wants to know, did you kill him? And she's like, yeah, I killed him. And that seems to be like what he needed to hear.
Yeah.
First of all, that somebody did in fact fucking die. And then she tells about burying her in flowers and singing to sleep and getting the bread. And he is so moved by all this. I mean, he doesn't cry, but I feel like if he were the type of person who cried, he would have cried here.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And he just says, you sang her to sleep. And she says, to death. I sang her until she died. And then your district sent me bread. And then she asked him to just do it fast. Like, you're going to kill me, just do it. Make it quick, please.
Mm-hmm.
And she could see that he's conflicted. And then he tells her this one time, they're doing this thing with the way he speaks, by the way.
Yeah.
I just want to mention where it's like, I don't know exactly. It's like a little, I don't know if the word is stilted, but it's very clipped, right?
Very
Like the way
much
he
so,
speaks.
yeah.
He says, just this one time, I let you go. Like, instead of I'll let you go or I'm going to let you go, he just says, just this one time, I let you go for the little girl. You and me were even then. No more owed. You understand. Almost like English isn't his, first language. I'm not exactly
That was
sure
not
why.
how I read it at all, I'll be honest.
How'd you read it?
I read it as like, he's getting ready to dart out of there and he's saying everything as quickly as he can.
Oh, okay.
Like,
That's better.
Just this one time,
I like that
I
better.
let you go. You and me were even then. No more owed. You understand? Like just trying to hurry it.
Okay. I like that better. That makes me feel a little bit better. But yeah, and he lets her go. And this is another time of us seeing the value. I don't know if it's just that Rue had, and I had said the thing before about like how we have an understanding of just how loved she was even before the district sent the bread, but like you just got a sense that she was loved, right? But it feels almost like there's more than it just being about Rue as an individual, but maybe it just is. But it just, I don't know. I feel like it's something more about this District 11 and a value system that they have within that district that is maybe different than some of these other districts, or at least stands out in these very extreme circumstances and seems like a little bit different.
I see what you mean.
Because we've seen it happen twice now, where they understand what Katniss did and are so appreciative of it that they feel like they need to pay it back in some way. And I feel like that just might be a value system of like we pay what we owe here. We respect the value of what other people do, and so we have to make good on that. That's just what we do here. But I don't know. But yeah, so she ends up not dying twice.
Yeah. And I really like the mention when he says no more owed. I nod because I do understand about owing, about hating it. I understand that if Thresh wins, he'll have to go back and face a district that has already broken all the rules to thank me, and he is breaking the rules to thank me too. And I understand that for the moment, Thresh is not going to smash my skull. But I do really like the sort of understanding there about owing a debt to somebody and how frustrating that is, because there's not really a sense here of him like wanting to do this. It feels like, morally he doesn't feel cool about it.
And we know from Katniss herself how she feels about owing, because she had that moment where she was like, me and Peeta are square.
Yeah.
and how relieved she was that they were square, and then how mad she was when he saved her from Kato, and she was like, God damn it, I owe him again.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like Thresh is 100% speaking her language right now.
I wonder too, like, she's mentioned how much Rue reminds her of Prim. And I wonder if this is how District 12 would react if if she hadn't been there to sub for Prim, if that hadn't happened, but Prim wound up in the games and somebody else looked after her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it does feel like this little girl was a favorite somehow.
Yeah.
And it might just be that, if that we want to be like, oh yeah, they care about their own, but maybe like Thresh isn't getting the same treatment and doesn't expect the same treatment, and it's just like, no, this little girl was special and she was somebody that everybody loved and she shouldn't have fucking been here,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there was absolutely something special about Rue that made her so beloved.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised, I have to admit, that Thresh responds in this way because I, there was nothing to go on, right? There was no reason for me to
Yeah.
think that he would care this much. Especially because we've spent like the least amount of time with him of all the other tributes. Like he has
Mm-hmm.
just been missing in action this whole time. It didn't appear as though he had attempted to, as far as we know, take care of Rue or stay close to her or keep an eye on her or anything like that. Like it may turn
Right.
out later on that no, he was always lurking around. But the fact that he doesn't know what happened to her and doesn't know Katniss was with her tells me that he wasn't anywhere around at all. So there was no reason for me to think that he would feel so indebted. But here
Mm.
we are. Here we are. So then Kato shows up and Fresh tells Katniss, "You better run now." He calls her Fire Girl, and she fucking bounces. She does not hang around to see anything, and she turns around when she's sort of safe, and she can see that Thresh has taken both of the large book backpacks, which I fucking cackled. I did. I really fucking laughed so hard. Takes both of them and fucking bounces off into his area that he's been hanging out at that Katniss hasn't been to yet. And we have Kato crying over Clove.
Mm-hmm.
And I say crying, but it says begging her to stay with him. So yeah, I feel like that's fair
I
enough.
think he is, yeah.
Right.
Like he
And
lets out a yell when he sees her, I think.
mm-hmm. Yeah. He's calling her name as he's getting closer. And then she just goes into the woods and she's like worried that, you know, Kato is chasing after her. And then she realizes later on that no, Thresh has Kato's backpack though. If he needs to chase anybody, he should be chasing Thresh, which I don't know if he wants that smoke, but maybe he does because
Yeah,
Thresh
that's a good
just killed
question.
Clove. Also, I don't know if Kato was close enough to know who killed Clove and if that even matters at this
Mm.
point. But for all we know, he might think that, like, I don't know if he saw it, so I don't know if he's going to know that Thresh did it, or will he think that Katniss took a rock to her head? I don't know. But yeah, she gets back to the cave and opens the backpack, and it has a single hypodermic needle in it, and she just jams that shit into Peeta's arm, and passes out.
Passes the fuck out.
It says the last thing I remember is an exquisitely beautiful green and silver moth landing on the curve of my wrist.
That's weird, right?
I don't know what that is, y'all.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Her little backpack is green, right? A little tiny green bag. No, or is it yellow? Which one is hers?
I don't remember.
Because I was like, is that just the little thing on her wrist? Is that, and she's about to pass out and she's just sort of hallucinating? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that thing. I was hoping that you would say something about it that would like give me a clue, but
I don't have a clue to give. I'll be real with you. It's not. I'm not holding anything back. I just don't remember anything significant coming from this.
Maybe it's literally just a pretty moth landing on her wrist, and that's all it is.
It may be. Maybe it's leftover hallucinogens from the tracker jackers coming into play, like old LSD.
I mean, she does have a giant head wound.
There's that also, yeah.
So it's probably that.
I was thinking about like what I would do if I were as smart as Foxface coming into the cornucopia ahead of everybody, and I'm again not great strategically, so I was thinking, oh, you run off and you steal everybody's backpack, so everybody's screwed. But no, then they just fucking chase you. Like, of course you don't do that. You just take your shit so you have what you need and nobody has any beef with you.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I would be so screwed in these games, you guys.
I would have died like 10 times by now.
Right?
10 times.
Oh my God.
Dead 10 times.
Get it. There's just so many moments where I'm like, why don't they do this? And then Katniss like explains why they don't do that. And I'm like, oh. Yeah, that's way smart. Over and over. Well, guys.
Over and over.
It's the end of the chapter. So, it's time for new patrons. Who do we got this time? All right, we have got Henry. It might be Henri. I don't know. It's Henri, which I think is
Henri.
Right? But I'm not positive. So I'm going to say both ways. And, oops, I started to play something that was not the sound effect I wanted at all. Ooh, okay, there it is. Yay! Then we have Ricky MM. And I keep going to the wrong sound effects. This isn't what I wanted. No, come back. Lily James. And lastly, Bethany Wilson. Woo! Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much. Lily James, is that a Harry Potter inspired username by any chance? Just wondering. But I hope that everybody who's listening is enjoying the coverage. We've been getting some really good feedback. People seem to be enjoying it a lot. So I'm feeling really good about it. And it's been super fun to record on. And the Discord is hopping. The two spoiler and no spoilers channels are both, but the spoiler channel especially. We've been having a lot of debates about some things that happen later on in the series, and some of the ways like the series wraps up, where people have wildly different takes, and I am so excited to see what you think when we finally get there, because I really don't know which way you're going to fall on it, and I'm extremely curious. It's not even like, is it good or bad? It's like so open to interpretation in some ways that it's just about like, what do you think happened here? You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But if y'all are interested, I'm going to try and remember to include the Discord link every time I do the show notes for the show. I don't always remember to do that. I'm sorry about it. But I hope that everybody out there, if you are able to become a patron, you can become a patron for free to just follow along with the news from the show. You can become a $5 patron, get access to this early and with no ads. Or you can become a $10 patron, get the sweet, sweet postcard. I was going to say the postcard juice. I don't know why I was going to say the postcard juice.
What? That's not a thing.
Postcard swag, I guess.
If you have postcard juice, ma'am.
Ew.
If you have juicy postcards,
take that to the USPS and get that figured out. Newman. All right. Anyway, that's the $10 and up, and then $20 and up, you get access to me and Rashawn talking about random nonsense on the Unsober episodes that we do twice a month. We did a seasonings episode we just recently did the Zoolander episode. Rashawn was mighty lukewarm on that there Zoolander, but we had a good time talking about it anyway. We did have to wrap up a little bit abruptly because something was going on, but I still think y'all got your money's worth. So, and yeah, if anybody has ideas on what they want us to talk about for December on Sobers, let me know because we got to get those scheduled. All right, everybody. We love you. Until next time. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Are you coming to the tree where dead men call out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.